Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the live stream. I hope you're all very well this evening. So let's see who's on the stream. We have Anonymous. Great to see you, Anonymous. Hope you're well. We have Elvis. Great to see you. The King is back. We have Mudatar. Great to have you on. Muhammad. Great to see you once again. We have Tom. Great to see you, Tom. Hope you're well. We have Inconsequential. Great to see you. We have Killer moderating once again. Thanks to a lot, Killer. Great to see you. We have Raven 1983. Great to see you, Raven. Gene T. Great to have you on. Tiny Demolition Lover. Great to have you on once again. Hope you're well. We have Super. Great to see you. Akismad. Hi all. Hi Max. Back on the picket line this morning, fighting the good fight. You fight that fight, Akismad. I hope things start moving in the right direction. Dano. Great to see you, Dano. Hope you're well. We have JMCM, great to see you. Magister, great to see you once again. The Buttons blog, great to have you on. Hope you're well. Who else have we got? John O'Sullivan, great to see you. Ministerian, great to have you on. Hope you're well. Hello, all people off the internets. And not off the internets. Sammy Wilson used to go with Rona Paisley. Yes, daughter of Satan Spawn Paisley Sr. Didn't like Sammy's drinking habits. You could damage a take, but don't drink on a Sunday. That's lovely. Nico, a take, for those who don't understand, is an insult. It means Catholic in Northern Ireland as an insult. We have Nickel. Great to see you, Nickel. We have Brexit Central. Fantastic name. Welcome aboard. John. Great to see you, John. Who else have we got? Enzo. Great to see you, Enzo. Lenan. Great to have you on. Hope you're well. We have Pete. Great to see you. Popeye. Great to have you on. Well, we're up to 228 viewers, so I'll have to go right down to the bottom. I'll just go very quickly. Minnie, great. Thank you so much for that super chat. I'll just jump down to your comment. Whoa. Good evening, Max. Thanks again for that super chat. Very kind of you. Good evening, Max, and everybody else. Some food for the hamsters and a deposit on the new Mankini. No further comment. That damn Mankini. There's no escaping the Mankini. Thank you so much for that. Very kind of you. Kendra, thank you. Great to see you, Kendra. We have Stanley. I'm just going through some of the names very quickly because we're up to almost 250 viewers, might be even more than that. My software has a bit of a delay on it for some reason. Richard, great to see you, Richard. Thanks for your messages. I try and read as many of them as I can, the ones you send me on Patreon. Derek, Verti, great to see you, Verti. We have Glasgow Kids, great to have you, Glasgow. Hope you're well. Artemis, great to see you, Artemis. Cotton Cat, great to have you on, Cotton. Joe Green as well. So many people, great to have everyone on. Cavan Lad, I see. Diarmid again. Franatica. I don't know, Franatica. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. Archangel, great to see you, Archangel. Nico, great to have you on again. Hope you're well. Iron Blaster, great to see you. Anonymous, yes, as already said. Jared Van der Acker, great to see you. Night Raven, great to have you on. Hope you're well. Mark Nicholas, great to see you. Scottish £100 note in a bag. I love these names. Loincloth 2020. Ministerian, thank you so much for that. Loincloths are in season, I'm told. Hamster patterned. Okay, it seems loincloths are going to be the next calendar for 2023. 2022, where am I? I'm jumping even further ahead than I should be. Mary Finnegan, great to have you on. Thanks again for that, Ministerian. Very kind of you. Loincloths. Haven't people suffered enough? Oh my god. Okay, so what? Let's jump into the stream. 300 viewers. That's fantastic. Everybody remember to smash that like button. If you're seeing super chats on the screen, that means you can. I'll read out your comment as a priority. So if you'd like to support the channel, you can do that if you want to have your comment read out. You can also support the channel by becoming a patron. Just before the stream, we had a new patron, and you get access to Discord, where lots of fun and voice chats and video chats take place on Discord. And just to say, the Patreon is getting close to 250 patrons. That's amazing. It really just started about a year ago on Patreon. So I really wanted to do something for patrons as well when we hit that 250. Okay, so let's jump into the situation for tonight. So, of course, Brexit, COVID, America, Boris Johnson. So I want to show you something that I actually have a video dropping tomorrow about this, this blew my mind, and I'm going to show you the video in a moment. But let's start off with Ursula von der Leyen. UK is COVID vaccine speedboat compared to EU tanker. So as we know, the UK is speeding ahead with the rollout of the vaccine, and I've said this on, I don't know if I said it on the last live stream, but I definitely said it in a number of videos. CGM, great to see you. Hope you're well. If the UK took a risk and the risk is paying off, kudos to the UK for doing that. That was a great, it was a risk. It was the right action to take, and the UK is ahead of the EU. I'm not going to dispute that. It was right to take the risk. Now, of course, we don't know if that's going to be the case yet. We're going to have to wait until the end of this. We'll have to see how this pans out. And a lot of people have received the first dose of the vaccine, but they haven't received the second dose. I think what's going to happen is the EU will eventually catch up, but it will be sometime later. That's what I think Ursula von der Leyen here is saying about a tanker. So Ursula von der Leyen has said a country on its own, such as the UK, can act more like a speedboat than the EU tanker, but that the 27 governments are right to work together on their vaccination program. Darren, thank you so much for that super chat. Please stand as an MP. So you speak so much sense. Thank you so much for that. Very kind of you. Kind of your donation and very kind words. Don't read this aloud. Don't read this aloud, Verti. Thank you so much for that super chat. Darren, I am actually, I would consider running as an MEP here in Italy, because I'm not based, of course, in the UK, so I can't run as an MP. But I would consider running as an MEP here in Italy, but I need to find a party first. Someone who would agree with my policies, or I would agree with their policies. Which would come first, I don't know. But at the moment, it's not something I really have considered a great deal. I think it's important, and as I talk about running for politics, Mark Vessling has jumped on the stream. Great to have you on, Mark. Hope you're well. Great to see you. Globe Twig, great to see you once again. UK Titanic will hit the South African variant iceberg if we don't listen to Sage. Yeah, so the UK is taking a risk. It's doing some good things. There is a risk that if the variant isn't kept under control, I'm going to come to that in a moment as well. If the borders are not closed, if the spread is not kept under control, the vaccine will not be enough. It has to be a two-pronged approach. It has to be controlling the spread with checks, with lockdowns, with some sort of measures, and then rolling out the vaccine at the same time. The UK is doing one of them really well, the other not so well. Wheat Scott's Dog, great to see you. Hope you're well. Sugar Free, great to have you on. And I always see Sugar Free on Graham's streams, so great to have you on here as well. I hope I'm not stealing people from Graham's streams, because I really like Graham and I want people to support Graham as well. Marilena, great to have you on. Kendra, great to see you. FSM is the dog, great to have you on. Don't know if you guys received the notification. I assume people did receive the notification. Anyway, she said the European Commission President admitted to mistakes along the way in the rollout of the vaccines, including failing to invest sufficiently in upscaling production capacity. She also conceded that the Commission underestimated the difficulties it would face and should have warned the public in advance of the likely ups and downs. But in an interview to 9 European newspapers, she defended Brussels against recent criticism that it has gone too slowly in agreeing contracts in light of the deal being agreed between the UK and AstraZeneca 3 months before the bloc. Von der Leyen, a former German defense minister, said that while the collective decision-making could be cumbersome, it ensured poorer EU countries were not left behind, according to the French newspaper Le Croix. I know I'm mispronouncing that. I'm aware that alone a country can be like a speedboat, while the EU is more like a tanker, von der Leyen said. Before concluding a contract with a pharmaceutical company, the EU 27 member states had 5 full days to say whether they agreed or not. I think it's important not to compare what the EU is doing to the UK, because they're completely different. Now, if individual member states had acted like the UK, I think you would see probably chaos at the moment, because you would have, for example, a large, rich economy like Germany able to buy up all the vaccines, or a lot of the vaccines, while poorer countries or smaller countries, maybe not so much poorer countries, but smaller countries would have less clout, and they wouldn't be able to get the type of agreements with the producers. So yes, the EU has gone very slowly, too slowly. I was expecting it to have done a much better job. And once again, kudos to the UK if they're doing the right thing. They seem to be doing the right thing. We won't know until later on. But I think it's unfair to compare the EU and the UK. You know, compare any country. You could compare a country to the UK and a European country to the UK, because they would be acting alone. The UK was acting alone. And the EU doesn't have a particular body. Lacrosse. What am I sorry? Lacrosse, not Lacroix. What did I... Now that I think about it, yes. Boris is a pie. It's fair to say Brexit is saving British lives because of this. No, this has nothing to do with Brexit. And it was actually quite frustrating when I heard an interview between, I think it was ITV and Nicola Sturgeon, the First Minister of Scotland, where I don't remember the name of the person, the anchor, the reporter on ITV said, "Oh, the UK is ahead of the EU because of Brexit," and Nicola Sturgeon didn't really respond to that, and I was like, "No, it's not because of Brexit, because the UK was part. It was within the transition period when the UK took this decision. It was still aligned. It was still part of the entity that represents." I don't remember the European Medical, I don't remember the full title, but the UK was still part of that when it took that decision. So this is nothing to do with Brexit. The furthest you could go with that, the most you could say is the Brexit mentality helped the UK. The idea of, we're doing everything on our own, we're not going to work with other bodies, we want to turn ourselves into a sort of hermit nation. That, yes, you could say that mentality helped Britain be the first to start the rollout. But at what cost? Because if you look at what's happening to the UK at the moment, how many almost 120,000 dead? European Medical Agency, thanks very much, Tom. And Derek, thanks very much for that. So if you compare on vaccines, the UK is doing a much better job. But what about the the pandemic itself. So I think this is, in the short term, the UK is doing much better than Europe. But I think in the long term, I think it will even out. And I hope it does. And this is not about winning and losing. This is about saving lives. And that has to be at the forefront. Okay, I want to move on to just about this. I want to show you this interview that took place today, I think it was 13 hours ago. This is James Cleverly. James Cleverly is, well, it says here on the right, he's an MP for Braintree constituency. That's a weird name, Braintree. Is it like there's trees with brains on them or something? Or is it a brain that looks like a tree? I don't know. How did it get that name? Anyway, he's a minister for Middle East and North Africa in Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office. I want to show you this interview because this blew my mind. He's going to be asked about why the borders are still open. Why are the borders open? And he's going to explain why the borders in the UK, why the UK hasn't closed its border at the moment. Like, for example, in New Zealand, where they closed the border and anyone coming into the country was forced to isolate. James, not so cleverly. Braintree is in Essex. Ironic name, Braintree. The MP for Braintree is Dick. No, DLC, great to see you on the stream. Hope you're well. Cleverly, but by name, but not by intelligence. Essex in it. Braintree town in Essex. Okay, let's get into this.
Where is the next mutant coronavirus strain coming from?
Oh, well, look, I have no way of knowing. What?
So, where is it coming from? Where is the next strain coming from? And he's like, I don't know. That's not good. But that's okay. If you don't know where it's coming from, you can look, I don't know where it's coming from. But the next point is, well, then you should close the borders if you don't know where it's coming from.
Okay, so let me pick up on that point, because this is a very important point. With respect, the question, yes, if I may, let me just follow the question up, and you'll have time to answer. The reason I asked that question that way is that you don't know where the next strain is going to come from. That's an obvious thing. So the obvious conclusion of that is that you close the borders to all countries because you don't know where the strain is coming from.
So look, you're trying to tee up a nice little clippable radio moment, but you can't.
That's really annoying, where he says, I don't know if you guys heard it, but he says, you're trying to tee up a nice clip for radio moment. Now he's asking you a question. Do you know where the next train is coming from? The simple answer is, no, I don't. And of course, the next comment would be, okay, so then wouldn't it be a good idea? Next question, wouldn't it be a good idea to close the border? If we don't know where it's coming from, we should close the border.
Cut off my answer, and if you'd let me answer in full, you'd understand why our policy is very effective. The UK has one of the global leading genomic research programs, and actually because of that, we have a unique offer to the world, which is helping scientists around the world identify quickly new strains.
Now, I've done a video about this, and I hope I'm wrong. Maybe you guys can tell me if I'm wrong or not. But the interpretation I'm getting from this is that we're not closing the borders because we want people to come in so that they can spread the virus around, and then we can understand it, we can study it. So basically, I want to turn the UK into a laboratory, and I want to turn British citizens into guinea pigs. Is this what he's trying to say? Is this what he means? We're not going to close the border because we want the variant to come in. Whoops. Sorry, I jumped ahead a little bit.
Conclusion of that is that you close the borders to all countries. The reason I asked that question that way is that you don't know where the next strain is going to come from. That's an obvious thing. So the obvious conclusion of that is that you close the borders to all countries because you don't know where the strain is coming from.
So look, you're trying to tee up a nice little clippable radio moment, but you cut off my answer. And if you'd let me answer in full, you'd understand why our policy is very effective. The UK has one of the global leading genomic research programs. And actually, because of that, we have a unique offer to the world, which is helping scientists around the world identify quickly new strains, so that we know where new variations of coronavirus are developing in the world more quickly than we.
So we know where they're coming from, but in order to know where they're coming from, you need to detect them. And if you're not detecting, like, at what stage are you detecting them? Is it we're detecting them when they arrive in the airport? It's like, oh, look here, we found somebody who has this particular strain. I don't think that's how you detect them. You detect them after they have been in the population. Look, I don't know anything about this, but it seems to me a bit strange why a strange way of dealing with this is to allow people to come in and then say, oh, look, we have this variant. It's probably this is a South African variant. Now let's close the border to South Africa. But even if you could close the border with South Africa, which you can do, you say nobody's allowed to come in from South Africa. But South Africans can just fly to another part of the world and then arrive in the UK. And they won't be blocked. And they could be carrying the variant. Like, using the variant to decide which countries you're going to block. What's the value in doing that?
We have done up until now. That will help us adapt. And I think the point you were going to make, that will help us to adapt our list of high-risk countries much more quickly and much more responsibly than we have done in the past.
So, tell me if I'm understanding this correctly. He's saying that when people come in from a particular country and they have a new strain, then we say, okay, we have these people from, I don't know, Japan. And they have this new strain, which we've discovered after these people have arrived in the country. You know, they've mingled a bit, and then we've discovered, we've tested some people a few weeks later and discovered, we have a new strain, and it's originated from Japan. Okay, let's, a few weeks later, close the border to Japan. And then we'll look for the next strain after that. And this is all great because the British people are offering their bodies for science, but without their consent. Once again, I don't know if this is what he's trying to say, but that's the impression I get.
Rather than where I think you were going with the next question, which is putting a blanket quarantine ban on every country in the world, which would put significant additional and unnecessary pressure, because forcing high risk restrictions on countries that don't have a high risk would be I think an excessive move to take.
So putting out a blanket ban and saying, look, we want to protect our country is excessive. Excessive in what way? He's trying to say, well, you know, if there's a variant from South Africa, then we need just to block South Africa. Because the only people with the South African variant would only, like, the people with South African variant will only come from South Africa. They're not going to come from any other country. So we only block South Africa. But does he not understand how international travel works? You don't have to come directly from South Africa. You don't have to how can I say this? You don't have to fly directly from South Africa to get to Britain. If you live in South Africa, you can go to another airport and get to the UK that way. You can fly to Dubai and get to the UK. You can fly to New York and get to the UK. What is wrong with him? Does he not understand this? Or is it, once again, is it the case once again that he doesn't understand, or he's pretending not to understand? Because this doesn't make any sense to me.
The logic of your answer, if I'm following it correctly, is that we're good at finding the virus strains after they've got here. So that's the good bit of this equation, is it?
No, that's not what I'm saying. We're good at finding the variant after it's arrived. So we're good at finding the variant after it's arrived. No, that's not what I'm saying.
No, a lot of people will see it the other way round, which is the foot first approach would be you try and stop them from coming in before.
Why does he not want to stop them from coming in? Now, I thought maybe this was just a once-off, because, you know, it's just one minister saying this. Surely it's not government policy. But Priti Patel, and I'm no fan of Priti Patel, and I don't think many people here are fans of Priti Patel, but Priti Patel wanted to close the borders last year, and Boris Johnson overruled her. Boris Johnson said, no, we're not going to close the borders. Max, if I have the South African variant and fly to New York first, COVID disappears because it's no longer in South Africa. See, you get it with a pale horse. Well said. Yeah. So that's the way to deal with the variant. You fly to New York. The variant, you have a passport. The variant doesn't. So the variant is like, ah, crap, now I can't get to London. Damn it. You'll be able to fly on, but the variant will be stuck at immigration. Virus with citizenship. Can we call it the Bavarian if it flies via Germany? Yes, the Bavarian. The Bavarian variant. Bavarian variant. Do Labour MPs have the Union Jack flag in the background when they do interviews? Some of them. Keir Starmer has started doing that, actually, Pete, which is a little bit disappointing. I was actually thinking of having trolling this. You know, I don't normally show myself on screen, but I was thinking of maybe doing a video sometime in the future when I'm on screen, and I want to have a Mandalorian flag. I'm a Star Wars fan. So I'm going to have a Mandalorian flag. I don't know if you guys know what the Mandalorian flag looks like, but it's really cool. So I'm going to have a Mandalorian flag behind me. Because it's just ridiculous. Let me read some of your comments. He has a degree in hospitality management. That explains a lot. Well, it explains why he has no understanding of this of this virus, but it also explains how maybe he says, look, we just need to keep the borders open because we need to get people into the country to, you know, eat out, to help out, and we need them to stay in hotels, and we need to do all of these things. So going from this into space opera, crap, Star Trek rules. God help us if there arises a Muslim variant. Yes, this is the way. It is definitely the way. Ministerian, well said. Star Wars is shy. No, tiny demolition lover. Some of it, yes, not all of it though. Anyway, let's move away from Star Wars. Yes. No spoilers, Max. Nearly finished season 2. No spoilers, I promise, Nick. It rocks. That's all I'd say. It's really good. Okay, I want to Mr. Cleverly, how did you know Cleverly? Doesn't really live up to his name, does he? He's talking about, look, we're not going to have a ban on people coming in, a complete and blanket ban, which would make sense because if we look, is he from Eton? Probably. If he's a Tory, he probably went to Eton. We're not going to have a blanket ban because that would be too excessive. Was it excessive? No, I think it was excessive he used. Do the stream on the 4th of May. Yes, I will. I have to check the date, but I might do a special one on the 4th of May. I'll wear a helmet. How about that? That would be cool. You don't see my face, but I'll be wearing a helmet. Star Wars helmet. Darth Vader is a weeb. How dare you. So here you're going to see one of these quarantine hotels, but this is all very late. Look, the gold standard, of course, nerds, yes. The gold standard, of course, is New Zealand, where people were coming into the country, isolated immediately, put into quarantine. I think it was for at least 10 days or 2 weeks, and they were tested on a regular basis. And wherever they arrived, or wherever they tested positive, that area was alerted, and the people in that area were invited to get tested, which makes perfect sense. The gold standard. We should be following New Zealand. Just to give you a bit of an update here in Italy before I jump to this, in Italy we have the area that I live in was orange, an orange alert. Now we're going to yellow alert, like in Star Trek, yellow alert, which means that restaurants are open. And I was a little bit surprised. I should have taken a photo. I might do it actually tomorrow if I can. I was pretty pissed off because I had to pass through the center of town, a little village where I live, and it was full of cars. Because what the Italians were doing was they have their aperitif before dinner. Now, because the restaurants have to close at 6 o'clock, and people are now allowed to eat and drink inside, because before it was only takeaway service. Now, from today, you can eat and drink inside and outside, at a table inside or outside. The bar near me, that it's quite popular during the summer, it was full of people. I was like, oh crap, here we go. But it was up until 6 o'clock. So the place was completely full. At 6:05, it was deserted. So people are getting around the rules. The rule is, everything has to be closed by 6 o'clock. People went there to get their spritz or their wine or their prosecco or whatever just before 6 o'clock. And then they buggered off back home to have their dinner at 7. This is not on. Anyway, let's get to this story about hotels.
Sally, this is a sample room I'm going to take you into now.
For 10 days, a room like this will be home to red list arrivals.
There's a microwave and fridge as well, so if they want their own drinks and things, they can store that here.
COVID positive cases are currently isolating in rooms here. They're a blueprint for how quarantine hotels might work.
There's about 2,000 people arriving per day at Heathrow, Gatwick and Manchester from the quarantine countries. So for 10 days, that's 20,000 rooms. So that's potentially 200 hotels with 100 rooms in each.
Just close the bloody airport. Why don't you do that? What's the point in having all these people come in and then you have to put them in homes, in hotels? I think it's quite expensive as well.
We've been told enforced isolation is coming. But the question they really want answered here is when.
We just desperately want to help. And I think that's the sense of frustration is we've sent all that information and just not heard anything back.
There are currently 33 countries on the government's red list.
So these are the countries that you cannot fly into the UK from. But all of the others you can. And there's nothing stopping someone from, of course, flying from South Africa to Australia or South Africa to somewhere in the Middle East or the United States or India or Russia or another country in Europe.
Including Portugal, South Africa and Brazil. Currently, British and Irish nationals and those with residence rights who have travelled to or through those countries are able to enter the UK, but must have a negative COVID test and self-isolate for 10 days. Under the new proposals, that would be in government-provided accommodation. Anyone else attempting to enter the country who's passed through the red list will be refused entry.
A question about this. Why is this being put in place now? We saw it work in China. We saw them do it in China and in New Zealand as well. But why is it being put in place now? Why wasn't it done a year ago? Even 6 months ago? Because if this had been put in place, then we wouldn't have seen so many numbers, I think.
This is where people come in if they...
But as vaccine hope grows, so too is impatience.
In the first wave, 0.1% of cases came from China, where we had restrictions. 62% came from France and from Spain, where we didn't have restrictions. And there's every reason to think that the variant will behave in the same way.
Quarantining arrivals.
No, Keir, the variant won't operate in that way, because as we've seen before, the variant will be stuck at immigration because, as was said here on the stream, if you go from South Africa to America, then the variant won't be able to get into the UK because it won't have the correct paperwork.
Is an enormous logistical challenge. Hotels need to train staff, make sure passengers stay in their rooms, and they're asking who'll be responsible for enforcing the rules. The government say an announcement is coming soon.
There isn't a delay. What there is work to make sure that the border is always as secure as it needs to be.
Why wasn't this done a year ago? Yeah, there isn't a delay. No, but it will be sorted out soon. Yeah, I have a feeling this is just for show. This is just for the cameras. Look at what we're doing. And then nothing will really happen. And then in a few weeks' time, we'll see how most of these hotels are empty. Maybe they got money from the government, but they're probably empty. Or there'll be cases of people who will be going into these hotels and they'll be like, there's no way of keeping them there unless you enforce it with the police. I think there are a lot of questions over this. Has to be. I have a feeling this is just for the cameras. It's just for the media. Look at what we're doing, and then when it's actually meant to be implemented, nothing will be done. Questions will be asked. Politicians will say, "Oh well, it's that's not true." And what about what we're doing in something else? Look at this other shiny thing, and this will be forgotten about.
Though the guests will be out of sight, soon this hotel may well be full for the first time in almost a year. But for now, they continue to wait. Ali Fortescue, Sky News.
So, in regard to the pandemic, I think it's important to remember that somebody is making money from this. Are the Tories owned? Are they Tory-owned hotels? We're going to get to that in a moment. Well, not the hotels themselves, but Nightingale motels. Actually, I should jump to your comments because you guys make the stream of. You guys maintain the stream. You keep the stream going. I want to read some of your comments. I won't be able to read all of them, I'm afraid. Max, if you want to see what lockdown does to people, look at my hair. You have fantastic hair, Mark. It's a distraction from Brexit that was saved for that purpose. That's why it is now. That's why it's only now. Yes, that's a good point. It was a great way to distract. I knew the French would be the bad guys at some point. We'll get to that as well in a moment. In Australia, anyone who is taken to a hotel for 14 days, even tennis stars for the Australian Open. I hope Farage and Johnson, etc., are forced to sit down and talk to the fishermen. That is JCMC. That's a very important point. And this is something I've been pushing for a long time. Why don't the fishermen go, I'm not saying to do anything, but just go to Nigel Farage's, one of his many mansions. What about Jacob Rees-Mogg? Go to one of his many mansions. And, ask him questions when he's going in and or out. He has to come out of his house at some stage, maybe to water the plants or, to check the mail or something. Ask him questions. Why did you promise us, sunlit uplands and now we are facing ruin? They need to put pressure on these people. I really don't understand why fishermen drove to Westminster and drove around Westminster for a few hours and then buggered off again. Go to Jacob Rees-Mogg's house. Go to Nigel Farage's residence and complain. I'm not talking about taking any direct action. Do not take direct action. But make your voice heard. Because these people lied to you. These people convinced you to vote for Brexit. They told you everything would be hunky-dory. Everything would be fantastic. Tom, thank you so much for that super chat. Very kind of you once again. Hamster quarantine and Line Club fund contribution. This damn... 2020 was the mankini. Mankinis are now out of fashion. It seems loincloths are back in fashion. You know, Jesus was he modelled the first loincloth, it seems. Brexiteers have forgotten about fish. Now it's all vaccines. Isn't that convenient? Yes. Just dump a load of rejected fish on their doorstep. Hi Jimmy, Max, adore your contributions. I'm Jimmy. Jimmy, great to have you on. Thanks for that. I hope fishermen just troll Farage, Johnson, and Rees-Mogg. I hope they do. See, when the elections are getting close to the elections, and I hope that the fishermen will go out and speak to the politicians, the ones who convinced them to vote for this, to vote for Brexit. Dump a load of rejected fish on their doorsteps, Conservator. Yes. Do it French style. You know, the French farmers would take all their manure and they dump it in front of Parliament. A very powerful symbol. A very powerful sign to these politicians. The same should be done with, or not the same, something equivalent should be done to the likes of Jacob Rees-Mogg and Boris Johnson and Nigel Farage. The three amigos of Brexit, the ones who were pushing it the hardest, the ones who went on TV on an almost daily basis saying how great things will be, that the farmers, the fishermen, everyone is going to have it so much better. Let me move that up a bit. Don't know why it's appearing so small. Okay, that should be a bit better. Will it benefit the fish? It definitely will benefit the fish, because the fish will be left in the water. The fish will be like, oh great, where are all these damn humans? They used to come and take us away, take our friends and neighbours and our family away. Now they're not doing it. That's great. They're leaving us in peace. Please don't do that. They should be sleeping with now. I have to be careful what I agree with and disagree with. With three amigos. You want them to dump Jacob Rees-Mogg before Parliament. If we dump manure outside Parliament, Mark Francois will be straight into it like chocolatey. Didn't Mark Francois promise to climb up Big Ben on Brexit Day, to bong Big Ben? You know, I was expecting him to be climbing up Big Ben with a loincloth, a bit like, I don't know, King Kong or something. Anyway, I want to move on. This article here from the Byline Times. The crony ratio, £800 million in COVID contracts to donors who have given £8 million to Conservatives. That's a great investment, isn't it? You know, you invest 8 million and you get 800 back. So invest. Can you think of any sort of investment where you put in £1 and you get 100 back? Or you put in £8 and you get 800 back? Or you put in £8 million and you get 800 million back? That's, is better than the stock market, I think. So it says here, government contracts worth £881 million have been awarded to individuals who have donated a total of £8.2 million to the Conservative Party in recent years, Byline Times and The Citizens can reveal. These contracts span across various projects undertaken by the government during the coronavirus pandemic, from the procurement of personal protection equipment, PPE, to the provision of laptops for children forced to study from home. This thing about the laptops, of course, it was griftopia. Well said, Stephen. Let's hire somebody to do it. This is something and it just popped into my mind now. If the UK was part of the EU, there would be EU funding for something like this. You know, we want to provide funding, we want to provide laptops for children. There would be EU money for that. When you're a member of the EU, there's money for a lot of things. The problem, though, is that there has to be transparency. There have to be public tenders. So if you want to provide, you know, for example, laptops or a new school, you can't just hand the contract out to whoever you want. If there's EU money involved, the EU are very strict on these things, and they want to see, okay, who received the contract? Was there a public tender? Were all the steps taken? Because if they were not, then somebody would have to answer for that. In a way, now that the UK is outside the European Union, none of these things apply anymore, which is fantastic if you're... am I buffering a bit? I'm sorry, there seems to be a bit of buffering. I hope that's okay. Okay, no, it seems to be back again. Please tell me if there's some buffering, because everything seems okay on my side, but I saw a small notification for someone. It's about as transparent as a brick in the UK. So this is in a way, the EU have a lot of red tape, but there is a reason behind this red tape. Who needs red tape, huh? Why laptops and not PI 400s? No buffering. Okay, that's good. Anyway, there's no evidence that the government awarded these contracts in direct exchange for donations. No monthly meetings where ministers assigned departmental work to the highest bidder. Rather, the Conservative Party has promoted the idea of outsourcing public services to private companies in recent decades, an ideology that has been ruthlessly applied during the coronavirus crisis. Private companies therefore see a commercial benefit supplemented by the Conservative Party, the Conservatives' low-tax mantra. To help the party to win power, the donations roll in, the party gets elected, and public sector contracts in turn roll out to the market. Yeah, the fact that a lot of things could have been done by the state, but the Tory party ideology is, no, the state doesn't work. The state exists to funnel money to the private sector. And of course, as the money passes, sometimes there are leaks. No pipe is 100% watertight or watertight. So, you're going to get a few leaks along the way. Other crap, Max, you know it. Yes. It's all lies. It's all propaganda. There isn't a question of wrongdoing on the part of the companies. They're simply acting in their commercial interests. Yes, once again, if a company... This is the problem with corruption. Is in the past... Corruption used to be a case of, you meet a politician in a car park under the cover of darkness. You look over your shoulder. Is there anyone around? No. Okay, you take out a big fat envelope full of cash and you hand it over to the politician. They get in their car and they drive away. That's not how it's done. You donate directly to the party. The party publish this information online. It's regarded as a donation. It used to be called a bribe. Now it's called a donation to the party. It's the same thing. One way is it wasn't recorded. Now it is recorded, but nothing is done about it. It's like as if... it's as if, we legalized theft. It's like somebody could come in and steal your TV, but they're not going to get punished for it because it's like somebody calls you up and say, I'm going to come into your house and steal your TV at 4 o'clock this afternoon. And you're like, okay. I'm letting you know. So, and this call has been recorded. But I'm going to still steal your TV. Okay. You can try and fight me off, but nothing's going to be really done about it because I've informed you through the legitimate channels. I know it's a ridiculous analogy, but that's pretty much what donating to parties is about. It's because it's been legalized, we no longer consider it corruption, but it is corruption. If a company is giving money to a politician, it's either for the politician to do something or to stop another party from doing something. Companies don't give money to politicians because they like their hairstyle, or they like the way they ruffle their hair, or they wear their tie, or what suits they like to buy. It's nothing to do with that. Do people still have TVs? Okay, Kendra, your phone. Okay, I'll steal your phone from you. Yeah, I'll send you a WhatsApp or a Telegram or a message or whatever, an email to tell you I'm going to steal your phone this afternoon at 4 o'clock. But once we've said, we've legalized it, we think it's no longer a problem. Of course it's a problem. Once again, if a company is giving money to a politician, it's because they want something in return, maybe lower taxes or a special contract or something like that, or they want they want to stop the government of the day from doing something. If the Labour Party are in power, and you think that the Labour Party are going to increase taxes on your business, for example, your sector, you donate to the Conservative Party so they get into power to stop the Labour Party from increasing taxes on you. That's how it works. And people seem to think that's okay. That's just how we do things. It's normal. It's always existed. There's no point in trying to get rid of it. It's the most fundamentally... I think it's the biggest problem facing democracy at the moment. We can talk about Brexit, we can talk about all these other issues, but corruption is the biggest problem, because you as an ordinary citizen go out and you think, okay, my vote counts. Well, your vote sometimes doesn't count because maybe you're in a safe seat. If you're living in Jacob Rees-Mogg's constituency and you don't want Jacob Rees-Mogg to win, then unfortunately your vote means pretty much nothing because he's in a safe seat. He can say whatever he wants and he will still be elected. That's a problem. But I think another problem is that, maybe he's not in a safe... Let's say another politician is not in a safe seat, and you believe, okay, I'm going to vote for this politician because they have good policies. I'm going to ask my friends and family to support this politician because I think they have the right policies. And you encourage the community to support this politician. Someone else can come along and hand over money to the opposition, the other politician, and say, stop the first one from getting in, and flood the airways with advertising or propaganda or something, and it devalues your vote. Somebody else can come along and put someone in power would just be by writing a check or making a bank transfer. How is that democratic? Anyway, let me finish this article. It says this process has, of course, been put on steroids during the coronavirus pandemic. When government contracts worth some £18 billion have been outsourced to the private sector in less than 12 months. The government is borrowing money and handing this money over to people like Dido Harding, who then hand it over to a private company. Instead of actually just investing it in the public sector, investing it in the NHS. Get the NHS to do the test and trace. Throw money at the NHS, not private companies. But the entire approach of the Conservative Party is, even though they said fuck business, Boris Johnson said that, they still believe business are the right ones to run the country. And then here we have some examples. Living Bridge donation. Sorry, this is Wal Colade from Living Bridge donation £678,000. Contracts worth £5.9 million. Then we have Scott Fletcher, ANS Group, donated £240,000, won a contract of 2.5 million. That's great. Great investment there. David Miller Designs, donation £60,000, 163 million. That's a you donate £60,000. He probably wouldn't even buy a car worth that. He said, "I'm not buying a £60,000 car. That's crap." Well, I wouldn't be seen dead in a £60,000 car. He invested £60,000, buttons probably for David Muller, and he got £163 million contract. COVID-19 testing. Michael Ashcroft, Medex Healthcare, donations 5.9 million, 350 million pounds. Wow. Great investment there. Steve Parkin, Clipper Logistics, donation £725,000, 1.3 million pounds. Imagine, you have a small business, and you don't donate to the Conservative Party, and you say, "Look, I'm really good at doing this work. Here is my resume. Here is my curriculum vitae. Here is our business project. Have a look at it. Tell us what you think." And somebody else comes along and says, "Well, I actually donated to the Conservative Party. Check the counts." "Oh, yes, you did. Okay, you win the contract." Halliburton, Augustusson, Globus. I remember doing a video on this some time ago. Shetland and Alpha Soloware. Donations 375,000, 157.8 million pound contract won. And it goes on and on. The last one here, this is Sir Peter Rigby. So he's a lord. He's been knighted. I wonder for what. Specialist Computer Centres, donations £105,000, won a contract of £2.1 million. I think this is about supplying PCs, is it? It says here, another company have benefited from the government's procurement of school laptop devices is a company called Specialist Computer Centres. A lot of these companies, are not old companies. They're set up, on the day. It's like, okay, the government have a contract, have a tender, maybe. What if I send a donation to the Conservative Party for like 50 grand or 100 grand today, and then I set up a company tomorrow? No, I set up the company today, I send a donation today, and then I apply for the tender tomorrow. It's probably a good chance that you'll win it. Doesn't matter whether you actually produce anything. All you can do is you can buy the computers from a wholesaler and then make a profit. You could buy them, from Wish or something. Buy all these computers on Wish and then hand them over to the government, and charge them, say that they're Apple PCs or something. Not Apple PC, Apple Macs or something like iMacs or whatever. Another company, the firm won a contract for the provision of 10,000 devices from October 2020 to October 2021, worth £2.1 million. SCC is owned by Rigby Group PLC, which donated £50,000 to the Central Party in 2019, following a donation of £55,000 in 2017. The company appears to be majority owned by its founder and chairman, Sir Peter Rigby, who owns 17 million Class A shares. As with many of other companies mentioned above, SCC is an IT company with an annual revenue of £2 billion, so there is little doubting its expertise in the field. However, it does clearly buttress the trend of government contracts being awarded to firms that have donated to the Conservative Party. So this is one case. There are other companies who, were set up overnight or have no business in a particular sector, applying for the donating to the party and then winning the contract. Do you get this from Wish? Did you get this from Wish? Is an insult in Germany. How is it in other countries, guys? Yes, it is. There was a funny one I shared on the Discord server. It was Jason Momoa from Wish. Anyway, I won't go into that now. Well, guys, we're about halfway through the stream, so I just want to do... So, for those of you who are new to the stream, new to coming on the stream, I want to show you a little funny video. Start this at 3 minutes. Just a funny moment, just to lighten the mood a little bit, and then we move on back into the serious topic in a moment. So I want to show you this.
Oh, hiya. I'm just in a meeting at the moment. Can I give you a call back when it finishes? Okay, all right, bye.
So, Chairman.
So just to give you a bit of a background, so you probably all heard about this. This is just a snippet from this Zoom call that went a bit downhill when a few members of the council started to argue.
Albeit late, shall we get this meeting started?
I can't see Jackie Weaver.
Who's this woman? There.
Right, we'll start the meeting, and I want to repeat what I said at the beginning of the last meeting, that this meeting has not been called according to the law. The law has been broken.
It has been properly
Will
called.
you please let the chairman
Mrs. Weaver, please.
If you disrupt this meeting, I will have to remove you from it.
You can't.
It's only the chairman who can remove people from a meeting. You have no authority here, Jackie Weaver. No authority at all.
Gandalf the Grey.
She's just kicked him out.
I-
Just a minute. No, she's kicked him out. Don't. She's kicked him out. Don't.
This is a meeting called by two councillors.
Illegally?
They now elect a chairman.
No, they can't, because the vice chair's here. I take charge. Read the standing orders. Read them and understand them.
Dear me.
Appalling behaviour.
Chairman gone.
A copy of this will, in fact, be sent to the monitoring officer.
I hope so.
Out of those people...
Where's the chairman?
We
Read
elect
the standing orders. It now reverts to me.
Where's the chairman gone?
Read the standing orders.
like to elect a chairman for this meeting.
You don't have to elect a chairman. There's a chairman already installed. The chairman of the council.
Councillor Burkle, we've been through this.
You don't, what are you talking about? You don't know what you're talking about. The chairman of the council is the chairman of the council.
Yeah, I'm going to subpoena everybody. Let's go.
Could I ask you to be respectful to Jackie Weaver, please?
Would now elect a chairman.
Here comes the subpoena.
Okay, I'll have to end it there, but I do recommend checking out the entire video because it is quite funny. So, but I love the part. You have no power here, Gandalf the Grey. Okay, so just to stay on the coronavirus, I just wanted to show you this, just as a part of this story here in Venice. So I live near the city of Venice. If people are not familiar with that, carnival time is empty Venice. Nobody's thinking about celebrating. So this is about the situation here in Venice. I live near Venice. It's pretty much dead at the moment because of the pandemic. But what's positive about it is I think it's going to change how we look at tourism. And I think this is something positive because Venice, over the last number of years, has suffered greatly because of this type of flash tourism that has been taking place, where people would arrive on cruise ships. They would visit the city for a day or even half a day, take a few selfies around the St. Mark's Square, Venice, the sewer of history, around the city, a few selfies with their selfie sticks. And they would bugger off. They would just leave. And that was their, something to mark off on their list. I think it's going to change where people are going to stay for a lot longer. I hope this is going to be the case where the city will invite people to stay for longer. Well, that long break was a way of trying to prevent the plague. Get people to come in for a bit longer, stay for a few days, visit the city in a real way. For example, I saw a video about Rome where the only way you could get to visit certain museums in Rome is by booking online, and they had very limited numbers of places. So that meant that there were fewer people in the museums, fewer people in the art galleries, and it allowed people to have a proper experience. Because before you would, especially during a peak season, you tried to get into the city, tried to get into a museum or an art gallery or whatever, and you wouldn't be able to enjoy it because there were just too many people. I think this is the better way to view the city, a better way to develop tourism. Fewer people, but people staying for longer, instead of this flash tourism that we've seen in the past. So just to say that Venice, normally at the end of February, middle end of February, there is the carnival season, and it's normally full of people. 3 million tourists normally arrive. And the city is very small. It's about 60,000. It's on an island, of course, on a group of islands. So Venice has never gotten any bigger since the Middle Ages. Just wanted to hit on that story. Okay, let's move on. Now, because I want to talk about this, just a little bit of this video, because I think it's important. Now, what's happening in the UK with the pandemic, the rollout of the vaccine seems to be good. What's happening in France, not so good. So I want to show you this.
It was almost business as usual as Emmanuel Macron welcomed the Moldovan president to the Élysée Palace this morning. From a French leader so desperate to appease an angry France that he's decided against a third lockdown. A gamble given that COVID cases have been rising. And a gamble too because, unlike the UK, Europe has failed to procure enough vaccine.
Mais je pense que nous, Européens,
I think we Europeans should also be more efficient on this matter. I know this is also the intention of Chancellor Merkel and President von der Leyen. We will continue in the coming weeks and months to speed things up, to go faster on this matter for our populations and to better accompany our friends.
At this intensive care unit in Marseille, the doctors are worried they will be overwhelmed, that nighttime curfews will not be enough to turn the COVID tide.
I really fear that Macron is doing a sort of Boris Johnson here. Oh, look, I'm down in the polls. People don't like what I'm doing. Ease the restrictions. That may buy me some time politically. Of course, this is the wrong approach. Easing the restrictions will just increase the spread, and it will make you even less popular, because you'll have to turn around and impose new restrictions, and of course the public will not be happy with that. They will say, what the hell were you doing in the first place? Kendra says difficult in France. They don't want the vaccine, but also complain that the rollout is too slow. I think Macron is a bit like Boris in a way that he thinks he's doing the right thing, and he doesn't want to accept any criticism.
France is currently losing around 400 people a day, compared with well over twice that in the UK. But though France's death toll is around 40,000 lower, they are irked by the UK's vaccine success. Look at this vaccination centre in Paris last week, where there were no patients because the fridges were bare. This in the land of Louis Pasteur, the vaccine pioneer. Even worse, a French pharmaceutical giant failed to develop its own vaccine, and it's headed by a Brit. And meet Renaud Georges, told by text that his first jab had been cancelled, with the next available slot not until March the 10th. A big disappointment, he says. When it comes to distribution, there have been many mistakes.
I wish to thank you for being here.
Mr Macron is chivying vaccine producers and indirectly lashing out at the UK. denying AstraZeneca's Oxford jab to the over 65s, even as Europe is demanding more of it, while the EU's own regulator authorised it for all adults last week.
I think the whole AstraZeneca problem, it's extremely frustrating because AstraZeneca is charging the UK more for the jab, while the EU, during the negotiations, got it cheaper. Now, what AstraZeneca seem to be doing is that they're selling, they've cut supply to the EU and increased supply to the UK. Now, this is a benefit to the UK citizens because they're getting the vaccine, but they're paying more for it. The EU got a good price, but the AstraZeneca don't want to respect that because they're going to make money in the short term by selling it directly to the UK. They know that the EU will eventually will come back and say, look, we want this vaccine. But unfortunately, and this is the problem, and I've said this from the beginning, the pharmaceutical companies are not doing this out of the goodness of their hearts. They're doing it because they can make a profit from it. This is about protecting themselves. Darren, great to have you on Patreon. Great to see Darren there. This is about the bottom line. If they're taking a hit now, it's because they want to make a huge profit later on. But they're not doing this because they care about humanity. And it is a little bit sad. Good night, everyone. Good night, Max. Stay safe. Stay safe, Darren. You stay safe too. Have a great night. We don't give the AstraZeneca vaccine to people over 64 anymore, says Mark. And now we vaccinate over 80s. Mark, what's the rollout in Germany? How is it going?
The observation that there are not many old people in the trial is correct, but the inference that the result is not as good in older patients is not substantiated by any evidence.
What's more, a French minister has claimed the UK's 3-month gap between jabs is risky, which is denied by British government experts.
This is not good. I know the French and the British don't like each other, but look, I don't think it's correct for the French government to criticise what the UK government is doing in the UK, to say that it's unsafe, that it's not correct to delay. I don't know. I have said, look, I'm concerned that there's a delay, but I'm not a politician. I'm not a diplomat. I'm free to say these things, but I don't think it's correct for the French government to, in a sort of veiled way, attack the UK government in regard to this rollout or this vaccine. What the UK government seem to be doing is they're doing their job. The problem seems to be between the EU and AstraZeneca. AstraZeneca are not holding up their side of the bargain. Now, the Brexiteers, of course, are like Gove. The Brexiteers are making hay here. But this is not about Brexit. As I said before, the most you could give to... good night, Meanie. The most you could... The most, how can I say, the most generous I could be in regard to the Brexiteers would be Brexit mentality helped here. But Brexit mentality is also fueling the deaths that are taking place, because Boris Johnson didn't want to lock down. Boris Johnson said, we'll take it on the chin. You know, the Brexit mentality there at every turn. We're not going to, reach out to the EU to be part of the procurement scheme for PPE. We're not going to reach out to the EU and buy ventilators. We don't need to do that. And that facilitated the over 100,000 deaths.
The gap in France is just a month, which puts even more pressure on supplies. Ironically, AstraZeneca's own CEO, Pascal Soriot, is a Frenchman. And so is Stéphane Bancel, the head of another vaccine maker,
The two of them are French, so does it make any difference? No, it's the bottom line at the end of the day. Max, you've just shattered my views regarding the vaccine. I thought it was developed not for profit, but purely for the sake of humanity. Am I wrong? I don't know if you're being sarcastic. No, look. The vaccine, the development of the vaccine, yes. But the companies producing it are making a profit here. They're not selling it at cost. Or if they are, some of them are planning, look, I'll sell it at cost now, but later on I'm going to make a profit from it. Look, I'm not against them making a profit, but I think it needs to be clear. They're not. We need to strip away this, these companies are doing it out of the good of humanity. They're businesses. Businesses operate on the idea of making a profit. If they're taking a hit now, it's because they're, expecting to make a profit later on. Anyone who's, if you want to be part of something big because you know that there's going to be a profit to be made later on. So some of them are making a profit at the moment. Some of them are expecting to make a profit later on.
Moderna in the United States. The only true French vaccine has been developed here in Brittany by a biotech startup, and yet it will be manufactured outside Edinburgh and delivered first to the UK. The United Kingdom helped with the financing. It rolled out the red carpet, says the head of the regional council. They did everything to make it happen, and we did not.
I think the French government need to answer a lot of these questions. Now, of course, the right wing in France are going to try and take advantage of this situation, which is regrettable. Macron has made mistakes. I think some of these mistakes are down to Macron's arrogance. He's not a humble figure, but he's a sort of. I see him as a product of the establishment. He's a product of the types of the Eatons of France. But maybe I'm being too unkind here. Anyway, let's move on. I just want to show you two things about Brexit. Of course, we have to talk about Brexit. So it says here, live farm. Let me just close this. Live farm animal exports to mainland EU at a standstill post Brexit. Now, this could actually be something positive out of Brexit. Not that it was necessary. Once again, anything it seems to be that's good from Brexit is not directly related to Brexit, was not a requirement of Brexit. For example, Brexiteers were saying about how live exports could not be banned under EU membership. That's not true. The Netherlands banned live exports, as far as I know. I'm 99% sure on that. I thought Brexit was done, Max. No, Brexit is not. We've still a long way to go yet. It says here, so livestock and live shellfish exports from the UK to mainland Europe are at a standstill as producers struggle with post-Brexit transport conditions. In 2019, excluding lamb and cattle traded between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, a combined 31,000 cattle, sheep and goats were exported from the UK to EU mainland. About 5% would have been exported for fattening for slaughter and the rest for breeding, the National Farmers Union estimates. The National Pig Association data shows that about 12,000 breeding pigs were shipped from the UK to the EU in 2020. The UK does not export pigs for slaughter, the NPA said, although 1,000 to 2,000 pigs are sent from Great Britain to Northern Ireland each year when extra slaughter capacity is needed. Since the 1st of January, no cattle, sheep or goats have left the UK for mainland EU markets. There have been no live exports of any cattle, sheep or goats since the 1st of January, said John Royal, the NFU's chief livestock advisor. That's because there are no border control posts and for them at EU mainland ports. Royal put the value of UK export live food animal exports at between 20 and 30 million pounds in 2019. Border control posts were are where live animal paperwork and welfare is checked on arrival in the EU. Okay, so this seems to be the case. There's nothing happening, because there's nothing available to check. There's no there's no paperwork available for this as well. If this is something that's stopped, I'm no fan. Definitely, I'm completely against this type of export, because these animals are transported in terrible conditions, and then they arrive for slaughter later. You know, if you're going to slaughter them in the country and export the meat. And this is probably what's going to happen. Now, it's important to remember that this was not a requirement of Brexit to end live export, which is extremely unpopular. The UK could have done it at any time, but they decided not to. But if this is something that's going to end with Brexit, then I'm going to be happy about that. I just wanted to highlight that issue. Okay, let's stick with Brexit, and I want to show you this video from Scotland.
It's less than 2 months ago.
So this is from Channel 4 News, where they went to Cornwall, and then I think there's also a man from Scotland going to speak. But this is about the fishing industry once again, and the fishing industry are not doing very well at the moment, as we know. But this is an update on the current situation. Dr. Johan, thank you so much for that super chat. Very kind of you. Hey you. Hey you too.
Ago since I was stood at a different freezing cold spot. It was outside Downing Street on Christmas Eve, waiting for the announcement of a Brexit deal, an announcement that was delayed and delayed and delayed because we were told negotiators were going line by line, species by species, to hammer out a deal. Well, look, despite their best efforts, so far, for most of the fishermen we speak to, Brexit hasn't quite lived up to expectations. For some, it's worse than others. For the oyster fishermen we've been speaking to today, some of them have been saying to us, Brexit hasn't just been bad for business, it could cause the end of their business. It's a process that's hardly changed in centuries. Oyster farming in Falmouth is a legacy livelihood.
It goes back a long way, you know, a long, long way. I mean, my great-grandfather was selling to the same people I sell to.
Go on then, who's this?
This is Jonathan Bailey. He's a local oysterman. And yeah, we've been buying Jonathan's oysters now for, I don't know, 15, 20 years, something like that, you know.
Jonathan is one of the few oyster fishermen on the Fal, but only for the domestic market, because the EU don't think the crystal clear waters of the Fal are quite crystal clear enough. So as a non-member nation, these oysters, mussels, clams, cockles and scallops fished here are now not allowed into the EU unless they have already been treated in purification plants. It is causing unimaginable damage to this almost £400 million a year industry.
Yeah, it's bad. I mean, we've got 52 men and women out of work since the 4th of January.
Not working at all?
Not working at all, no, none of them. One boat was collecting a few oysters for us. One boat goes out for Queens for our...
But, you know, John Redwood would say, well, the solution to this is that British people need to start eating oysters. Tom, thank you so much for that. Not so much getting Brexit done, but getting done by Brexit. I want to copy that. I want to share that on the channel. Getting done by Brexit. Well said. Mollusk Mayhem. Did Vera Davine start working for them? Just a joke for the Germans. They're all selfish, drops Mike. Yes, very, very well said, Pale Horse.
Local market, 40 minutes, they've caught what we need for that week. So yeah, that's it really.
The Brexit agreement does mean that in the future, the UK will gain quota and will regain the ability to negotiate catches with the EU. But so far, from Scottish fishermen...
But that's not the issue. The issue is not being able to catch the fish. They're able to catch the fish. They're able to catch pretty much what they want. The problem is selling it. Where the hell do you sell it?
Complaining about quotas, to Cornish crabbers finding that their shipment stalls due to customs, to these oystermen. So far, the Brexit many in the industry voted for has failed to deliver. The fear for some is it could actually end their business.
We were promised a route to market. We were promised forms that could accompany export health certificates that would accompany products. They're not even forthcoming. So yeah, it just drives us crazy, really.
So this is where the action's happening now, is it?
Well, at the moment, yeah.
Up on the North Cornwall coast, Paul says there's no point sending his boat to sea right now, so it's maintenance time. Paul fishes for crabs, and crabs are allowed into the EU, but only if the customs agents are happy with the new paperwork.
At the moment, it feels like you're gambling with a lorry load, and a lorry load of fish is approximately £50,000. We don't know if we're going to get it to our customer. We don't know when we're going to get it to our customer. Time scale means everything to shellfish, so I might as well go to the casino, put 50,000 on black and red, and either win or lose, because that's what it feels like I'm doing at the moment.
The lottery, Paul says, will probably sort itself out at some point. What won't, he says, is the delivery time to France now because of export paperwork. With a fair wind, it used to take 16 hours. With a fair wind now
we're 2 to 3 days.
2 to 3 days?
At the
So 16 hours has been increased to 2 to 3 days. 16 hours is still fresh. 2 to 3 days is no longer fresh, and the customer won't accept it. Simon, thank you so much for that super chat. Hi, Max. I still don't feel sorry for the fishermen. This is what they voted for. Part of me feels sorry for them. Part of me says, what the hell did you think was going to happen? See, part of me says, okay, some people were conned into voting for Brexit. I understand that part. People were told, things are going to get better. Somebody who's living in a city who doesn't know anything about fish, was never even on a boat, or was told, the fishing industry is suffering, Brexit is going to help them. That person could be forgiven. People still should have, did their research. People should not have listened to someone like Boris Johnson, who's incapable of telling the truth. If Boris Johnson says you should do X, then you should not do X because Boris Johnson said it. If Nigel Farage said you should do Y, you should not do Y because Nigel Farage has said. That is the... If you just do that, then you're probably going to be okay. Whatever Boris Johnson says, do the opposite. Whatever Nigel Farage says, do the opposite. Now, but when you're a fisherman, and you've been in the industry for a long time, surely you would ask yourself, okay, I have this guy, Nigel Farage. He comes here, he tells me, I'm going to make everything better for you. Surely these people would say, why should I listen to Nigel Farage? Why would Nigel Farage want me to do this? What is he going to get out of it? How am I going to truly benefit from this? He's saying to me, look, and the Brexiteers seem to focus only on being able to catch the fish. They never said, they said very little about how to sell the fish. They said everything was about catching. The EU won't let you catch your fish. The EU is trying to, have these restrictions on you. And of course, if you're a fisherman, surely you would understand why these restrictions exist. You probably don't like them. In many cases, you say, look, I want to fish everything. The EU don't want us to fish everything. They want us to limit the fishing. Surely they'd understand the reason behind that. Whether you agree with it or whether you like it or not, you'd still have to accept, yes, we can't fish all the fish in the sea. We can't take everything away because there'll be nothing left for the next generation. We don't like the EU, but we understand that it's here to protect the stocks from us. That's one aspect. The other aspect, of course, is where, nobody... I find it really difficult to understand that none of these fishermen asked Boris Johnson or Nigel Farage, where am I going to sell these fish? Yeah, we can sell them, the glass eagles. Yeah, you'll be able to sell them to the Ukraine, to Belarus. You'll be able to sell them to Russia. You'll be able to sell them to China. But if I'm selling them to Europe at the moment, why would I interrupt that? what has Nigel got out of Brexit? A lot of money and a lot of fame, because he was getting funding from the likes of Aaron Banks, and the fame part, he was traveling around the world. See, some people have a huge amount of money, and after that they just want attention. I think towards the end, Nigel Farage, it was just about the attention. Eric, good night. Thanks for coming on the stream. I think it was about the attention. Mark, thanks for coming on the stream. Have a great night. Stay safe. What do you think about Arlene Foster's petition? Yeah, thanks very much for that, Zach. I'll get to that in a moment. Very kind of you. But how did these people not question? Okay, at the moment the situation is maybe not great. The reason it's not great is because the European Union forces me not to catch all the fish that I want. But the reason behind that is, the logical step. Okay, the EU doesn't want me to catch all the fish because it wants to protect the stocks. At the same time, I sell my fish to this distributor and they export the fish to the European Union. So there is a market. Now, why would I create a board? Like, why would I want to put up a barrier between the UK and the EU? Because you could say the response to that could be, well, Nigel Farage and Boris Johnson said there will be no barrier. What is the expertise of Boris Johnson and Nigel Farage when it comes to borders? What abilities what knowledge do they have? They said, yeah, there's nothing to worry about. But when I listen to the experts, the people who do understand about borders and the WTO and things like this, they said there will be problems. So when it comes to, it's like I have a pain in my chest. I go to the doctor and he says, look, you have heart disease. But I listen to the guy down the road who tells me, no, there's nothing wrong with you. Why would you listen to the guy down the road and not listen to the doctor, the one who has the knowledge, who has the experience, who has trained? At the end, I think in some cases it was greed. These people probably said, well, there may be some issues, but I'm going to make a lot of money in a very short amount of time, and it'll probably sort itself out. Then I have no sympathy for these people. There are some fishermen who did not vote for Brexit, but they're suffering the consequences as well. I would like to be a fly on the wall during the meetings that are now taking place with the fishing unions and the fishing organisations, because the ones who voted for Brexit were very boisterous, were very adamant about how things would be better, and the ones who were voting against it will have a lot to say now. And I think some of them will be angry. Arlene Foster's, I just want to reply to Zach's super chat. What do you think of Arlene Foster's petition? So Arlene, if people don't know, Arlene Foster set up a petition and got 100,000 signatures. Now, it seems to be that the 100,000 signatures may not all be from Northern Ireland. Some of them appeared from the Philippines. Some appeared from in Indonesia. So they're not all from Northern Ireland, which is interesting. But anyway, she has set up this petition to have a debate in Parliament about scrapping the withdrawal agreement, or the Northern Ireland Protocol, which is part of the the withdrawal agreement. That's not going to happen because that's Boris Johnson's oven-ready deal. So Arlene Foster has a petition and received 100,000 signatures to convince Boris Johnson to throw his withdrawal agreement, not his Brexit deal, but the withdrawal agreement, in the bin. He's not going to do that. Even if he doesn't like it, he's not going to do it because that's his crowning achievement. Arlene did a fab job of not. The senior advisors were on the same team Nick Clegg had. Oh my God. Ben says she sells seashells on the seashore because she can't get them to market. Can't get them to the EU. But WHO is making a profit of Brexit. But as far as I can see it, Brexit has damaged everyone, even the Tories and their donors. Some people are making a profit, of course. There is the disaster capitalists who are making a profit, of course. You know, if businesses are suffering, somebody can come in, swoop in, and buy them up cheaply. It's like, you know, in a town or in a city where house prices drop, someone with a lot of money can arrive and buy up all the property really cheaply. So some people are you have to remember, in every crisis, someone is suffering and someone is profiting. It's always the case. During the financial crisis of 2007, 2008, 2008, 2009, the same thing was happening. Businesses were closing. Many companies went to the wall. Some people were making a lot of money because they were taking advantage of the situation. Zach says the DUP have. Thank you so much for that super chat, Zach. The DUP have no alternative. They may get it debated, but that's all. As someone from Northern Ireland, the DUP embarrass me. I'm really sorry about what's happening in Northern Ireland. This is a travesty what's taking place at the moment, because there is a real risk at the moment that loyalist paramilitaries will start going back to their old tricks again, their old activities once again. And if the loyalist paramilitaries start preparing for war, what's going to happen is the Republican paramilitaries are going to say, well, we need to protect our communities. We can't rely on the British government. We can't rely on Boris Johnson. We can't rely on the military. We can't rely on the Northern Ireland Police Service. So they will start to prepare as well. In a similar way to what happened back in the 1970s, where the IRA were growing, the loyalist paramilitaries were afraid, and they started to grow too. So there's a real risk to peace, and this is coming from the DUP. The DUP are responsible for this because the DUP voted for Brexit. They campaigned for Brexit. They propped up Theresa May's government. If Theresa May's government had collapsed, instead of allowed it to merge into, or mutate, the correct word of the day, mutate into Boris Johnson's government, there was a possibility that a government of national unity could have been formed with Labour, the Liberal Democrats, the SNP perhaps, and a new referendum could have been called. It would have won, probably, and none of these issues would have been. This guy would still be operating his business as normal. The situation in Northern Ireland would not be a problem. The UK would be would still be a member. It'd still be in the single market and the customs union, and we wouldn't be seeing all these problems. So I'm extremely concerned about what's happening in Northern Ireland, because a lot of effort and work was put into peace, and now there's a risk that it's going to be destroyed because of Brexit. So when I started this channel, when I started talking about Brexit, one of the first things I talked about was Northern Ireland. I said Northern Ireland is going to be the issue that breaks. Northern Ireland would break, or Brexit will break, because you can't have a situation as delicate as the Northern Ireland peace process being exposed to something as ridiculous as Brexit. And the Tories don't give a crap about Northern Ireland. They don't give a crap about the people of Northern Ireland. They never have. They never will. Boris Johnson used Northern Ireland as a bargaining chip. I know that the DUP and the Unionists will say, no, it's the EU that was using it. No, the EU never wanted Brexit. The Tories and Boris Johnson wanted Brexit. It's a worry, Max. And, you know, the people of Northern Ireland have gone through enough. And the ironic thing, of course, is that the people of Northern Ireland voted to remain in the European Union. And now the DUP are going to destroy all of that. So the situation, of course, with the fishing industry is bad, to put it mildly. We're getting close to the end of the stream tonight, so I just want to show you. We just want to cross the water to the United States, and perhaps something has changed. I just want to say I'm quite sorry about Christopher Plummer, a fantastic actor. Just here on the right, it says Christopher Plummer, Sound of Music star and oldest actor to win an Oscar, died at the age of 91. He replaced I don't remember his name now, but I don't remember the name of the film. Just there recently. Damn, I forgot the name. Anyway, but it's quite sad that we've lost him. A fantastic actor. Okay, I want to read about this. Kamala Harris uses casting vote to pass COVID relief budget resolution. So Vice President's Senate intervention means Biden's $1.9 trillion package can pass without Republican support. It seems to me that Kevin Spacey, thank you very much. Kevin Spacey, all the money in the world. Thanks for that, guys. Yes. Kevin Spacey, I think a very good actor. You know, what he does off screen is the problem. What he does on screen is amazing. Bonsoir, Maxime. Thank you very much, Rumpelstiltskin. Very kind of you. Good evening. Julie Nolan, thank you so much for that super chat. I love the corgi. Is a corgi or a cat? No, it's a cat, is it? It looks a bit like a corgi. It's a beautiful, beautiful animal. Beautiful character. Thank you so much for that super chat. So the US Senate has passed a budget resolution that allows for the passage of Joe Biden's $1.9 trillion COVID-19 relief package in the coming weeks without Republican support. So this is amazing. I was going to say Boris Johnson. Max has not mentioned UBI yet. No, I can't mention it on every stream Anonymous. Joe Biden has grown some balls. This is amazing. I was actually expecting Joe Biden to be, you know, really really weak as a president, but he's really come out swinging, and I think he's done some amazing things so far. Can't say I don't, you know, we're only less than a month him as president, but he's done a lot of executive orders, and hopefully this is going to be able to help a lot of people. So the Vice President Kamala Harris broke the 50-50 tie by casting a vote in favor of the Democrat measure. This is significant because the Democrats are normally afraid to piss off the Republicans. And Joe Biden so far says, I don't care. You know, if the Republicans don't want to get on board, fuck them. Sorry for my language, but, you know, it needs to be said. Because the Republicans would always block everything, would always try to water down any measure that the Democrats were trying to push forward. And the Democrats would, you know, bend over and say, oh, you know, please, can you support this? And the Republicans would be like, oh, no, we don't give a crap. Oh, please, really, we'll cut it in half. And the Republicans, no. And eventually the Democrats would get something through, which would be pretty much useless. Look at Obamacare. Look at how Obamacare, something great, universal, not universal basic income. I'm looking at the chat. Medicare for all could have been something that Obama pushed through at the very beginning of his presidency, but instead he got Romney Care, which was the Obamacare was the one that was actually created by a conservative think tank. At the end, he got a conservative policy through. And the Republicans still attacked him on that. The Republicans, you can't, especially the ones under the control of Mitch McConnell, you can't negotiate with these people. You just have to burn the ground in front of you. Burn everything. Because you can't negotiate. They are like Brexiteers in a sense. Mitch McConnell is like Nigel Farage or someone like that. Or will an independent Scotland equal UBI? I think Scotland has actually been talking about having a UBI. I haven't seen much information about it, but I have heard stories about it, which would be wonderful. I'd be very jealous of Scotland. I'd have to move to Scotland then. But I think to move to Scotland, you have to start eating haggis or something, and or deep fried Mars bars, in order to remain a Scottish citizen. I'm joking. Okay. The House passed. The House passed its own budget measure on Wednesday. Congress can now work to write a bill that can be passed by a simple majority in both houses, which are controlled by Democrats. Mid-March has been suggested as a likely date by which measures can be passed, a point at which enhanced unemployment benefit will expire if Congress do not act. The vote came in at 5:30 a.m. on Friday at the end of the marathon Senate debate session known among senators as votoram, a procedure whereby they can theoretically offer unlimited amendments. The entire system is really messed up in the US, where you have this filibuster as well, where people can just say no. It used to be a case where the filibuster would actually require somebody standing and talking for like 5 hours to stop a bill from going through. But now they just say, yeah, I filibuster, and they sign something, or they say, yeah, a filibuster, and then they go home and the bill doesn't get through, or something like that. It doesn't actually require somebody standing up in Congress for hours. But this filibuster just doesn't make any sense to me. I think it's actually anti-democratic. Biden is scheduled to meet with Democrat House leaders and committee chairs on Friday morning to discuss the COVID economic stimulus, and is expected to make public remarks on the progress at 11:45 Eastern Standard Time briefing. There was dissent from Republicans in the Senate overnight, particularly over plans for a $15 minimum wage, federal minimum wage. Iowa Republican Senator Yoni Ernst raised an amendment to prohibit the increase of the federal minimum wage during the global... these people are on... I don't know. How much does a US senator earn? Probably about $100,000 a year. Or more. Maybe 3 times. I don't know. But they don't want somebody to earn They don't want somebody to earn $15 an hour. No, it's going to close businesses. But actually, I think part of it is that it's not for all businesses. It's for businesses over a certain size. If you hire one person, you don't have to pay them $50. But maybe I'm wrong on this. It's about $200,000, I think, says Rory Monaghan. Thanks for that, Rory. So they earn a considerable amount more than the minimum wage, and they don't want poor people. A U.S. senator gets $174,000 per annum. Thanks, guys. Plus, when we think of, that's the salary they earn. But then, when they're in the Senate, they don't have to pay for their food, or it's greatly subsidized. They get a huge number of benefits, like a car and travel allowances and things like this. And, they have I know that they also have to pay for staff in their office, probably they get, but I'm sure some of them get an allowance for that as well. But they earn a good, and then of course many of them are working on the side. They earn money from doing talking tours, and when they appear on TV, they get paid for that as well. So they do quite well. They earn a lot more than $15 minimum wage. Put them on $15 minimum wage, and I'm pretty sure they would say, no, actually, yeah, this is minimum. we should earn more than this. The public should earn a bit more than that as well. But maybe I'm sounding too much like a communist. So it's good that Joe Biden is making some progress. It's good that Kamala Harris has stepped in to support that. 107,000 euro per year as an MEP. I should become an MEP. No. I become an MEP to do the right thing. I can't say I can't say I would become an MEP to become corruptible. No, I would be incorruptible. I'd have to be that. You know, that's my job. That's my platform against corruption. But MEPs earn a lot of money and they don't do a lot of work. I think that's part of the problem, but it's a problem everywhere. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the stream tonight. Make sure to smash the like button. If you'd like to support the stream or the channel further, you can become a Patreon, and you can get instant access to Discord, where we have a lot of chats and video chats and lots of discussion. And of course, we have a post-stream chat where I jump on with some people, regulars who are on Discord, and also new people to ask about how the stream went, and you know, can answer some questions. We can have a few debates on that. That's really nice. If you cannot afford, of course, I understand people are going through difficult times at the moment. You can support the channel just by liking, subscribing, sharing videos on social media. That's a great way to support the channel as well. I really appreciate the people who are supporting the channel by sharing videos on social media. I see a lot of people on Facebook are coming to the channel via that media. So I want to say a big thank you to everyone who's come on the stream tonight. A massive thank you also to everyone who sent a super chat. Greatly appreciated. Thank you, Tom, for that last super chat. Contribution to the hamster guillotine party. That'd be a cool name, no? The Hamster Guillotine Party. Much better than the Mankini Party or the Loincloth Party. And of course, a massive thank you to the moderators who always do a fantastic job. I couldn't do it without you guys. So before we finish, of course, we have our one video for the road, and then I will bid you adieu. Just a moment, I bring it up here. Enjoy.
I mean, I asked Nicola if she wants Boris Johnson to lend her some soldiers to help with the pandemic and help giving out the injections that seem to have got up really high since the one she did last week. But that's besides the point. Does Nicola want Boris's soldiers to come and help? I mean, she hasn't even answered if she wants her soldiers to come and help give out the vaccine, and that's all I wanted to ask her. But she seems to avoid that question all the time. Do you, Nicola? Do you want our soldiers to help you, or do you know? Well, here we go. Ruth is raging again. Ain't you, Ruth? No, I'm no. I think Ruth would be pleased that we've done so many more inoculations this week than last, but obviously that's fucking upset her. She would rather be completely fucked up and then she could say bad SNP. And see this shite we're getting? Do you want the armed forces to help you? As if Boris is doing us a favour giving us the armed forces. We had the armed forces last year giving out PPE. We had the armed forces helping with Louisa Jordan doing the testing. And see, another thing, it's not just the British Army, there's Scotland soldiers as well. What do you think we're fucking paying tax for, Ruth? Stop trying to make out you're doing us a favour by lending us the armed forces. Fuck's sake.
I actually think that Nicola Sturgeon should speak like this in Parliament. Just, drop a few F-bombs, so for fuck's sake. Really, it would, I think more people would watch, and I think actually support for independence would go through the roof. So once again, thank you so much for everyone. Thanks so much to everyone who's come on the stream. Thanks too much to everyone who's sent a super chat. Nico, thank you so much for that great support at the very end. Another contribution to the hamster guillotine party. Maybe we should do that. We should set up a rival to the pirate party. I know there's a pirate party in some parts of Europe. We could have a hamster guillotine party. Although we wouldn't want to take that too literal, okay? The hamsters will be fine. If the hamsters operate the guillotine, that makes more sense. Raging Ruth. So guys, have a great weekend. Stay safe. Remember to wear your mask and maintain social distancing and put on your emotional life jacket. I will see you all on Tuesday at same bat time, same bat channel. Have a great weekend. And as Boris Johnson always says, stay alert. Good night, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you soon.